ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Look who we have here today, Elena. It is a pleasure and honor. How are you? Thanks for coming on.
I'm great. Thank you for asking me. You've had a lot of great guests on, so I am honored to be asked to be on.
And you're one of those great guests. What's that shirt you've got on there, by the
Oh,
way?
this is the Baby Metal.
Baby metal.
Yes, I don't know if you're familiar with
Nice.
them. They're like a J-pop metalcore band.
Oh, that sounds sick.
It's fantastic. It is. I say this and people think I'm joking, but I'm like, this is the music of
No,
my spirits.
I know you're not joking.
It's really like it just like when they start doing the J-pop sort of like dancing over the like chaotic, evil screaming, it's just like all of my entire personality is at peace.
I feel like you're like me, there's not a genre you don't like,
Mhm.
correct? Yeah.
I'm not wild about polka. It's just a
Polka.
little too hooks me in the ear. I mean, literally, that's like how extreme I am. Like, if I hear polka
Polka,
music,
how
I'm
does
like, can
polka
we
go?
stop it?
Is that kind of
It's like
old-timey stuff?
it's kind of
Yeah.
old-timey and there's like a tuba involved, like it's like the oompa oompa thing
Oh,
that
yeah,
is
that's
very
annoying. Yeah.
it's annoying.
Yeah.
So, sorry to the polka musicians out
No,
there.
we've
That's
only
just
got a
how it
few
is.
listening, they'll be right. No, that's it. I like, Korean stuff, I like Japanese I like anything, seriously.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah, people are putting their heart into it, but when you mash genres together, actually, that's usually where, like, the happy place is for me.
my friend showed me pirate metal. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen yeah, like, the very, very extreme genres of metal, like, there's also a lot of, like, cultural folk metal that is very interesting,
Mm.
like, there's a band called The Who, the HU, not the,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
not the, like,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
they are, like, a Mongolian folk metal band, and they do the, like, throat metals, like, the throat singing.
Throat singing. How would
Yeah.
that go? Can you give us
I
a
can't do
taste?
it.
I'm
I
joking. I'm
honestly
joking.
don't think I
I'm
could.
joking.
I'd
Uh,
love to learn it though, but yeah, they have this it's like a, like it's like a folk tradition in their culture, and
wow.
they've translated it to, like, this metal music, and it's so cool. It's really
How did you get into French? Was it French pop you got into?
Yeah. I got into that. How did that happen? I think I told you I lived in England for a short period of time. I lived in, London, and I went to France a lot,
Ah,
and
okay. You
I
got a bit
would,
of the
like, hear
culture rubbed off
yeah,
on
I
you.
would hear the
Yeah.
music, like, the pop music there,
Mm.
and I got really interested in it, but I feel like it really happened I enjoyed being in France so much, and I wanted to learn, French a little bit, and so I started to, like, listen to music in French and Spanish. Those are the 2, like, I'm like, "Maybe I could one day speak another language if those are the ones I try."
And how's that going?
It's going great.
You're too busy. How many guitars you got behind you there?
Right here, just 2. These are the ones I use on a regular basis.
They're the
Um,
babies?
yes, these are the ones that there's this one is like an Ernie Ball. I just, like, bought it recently because it's very well set up, and the other one's a Martin.
Oh, yeah.
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 Uh,
Is that what you used for 115 acoustic?
yeah, the Martin I use for
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and, I'm reestablishing my relationship with the guitar. We have had a long-standing
A battle.
we've had a
Uh,
complicated relationship.
how proficient would you say you are?
Well, that's I think the problem is that I have, like, I really think I'm not good at the guitar, which is a ridiculous thing because I've, like, been writing and playing music on the guitar since I was about 16 and was the lead guitarist in a band, and, like, so, like, that's I wasn't we weren't I wasn't like it was a punk band, it was not complicated, but I think,
Is it comparison what is it? Comparison is a thief of joy? Is that
yes,
kind of
there's
what's
that.
going on? Yeah.
100%, and also
Mm.
just I remember I think I was at brunch with my husband and a Dire Straits song came on. I'm a huge Mark Knopfler fan. And like the Dire Straits song came on the radio, and I guess I just like my whole demeanor, like I just like got sad. And he was like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "I'll never play like Mark Knopfler." And he was like, "That's allowed. Like only Mark Knopfler can play." But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not a good guitarist unless I can play like Mark Knopfler. It's very so it's
Do you think
complicated.
that's
So I
because
would,
you're in the kind of music world your whole life? You're so exposed to it all that it kind of you know how good some people are?
yeah, I think also like I have this sort of obsession with the like zero friction to self-expression.
What
Does
is it?
that
Explain that,
work?
please.
Um, like you have an idea and nothing stops you from like expressing it as crystal clear as you
Mm.
possibly can, right? And like that's what it's like. Oh yeah, like I guess when I listen to someone like Mark Knopfler play the guitar, it's like there's literally no there's a direct connection between the like feelings in his heart and his like thoughts and what's coming out of the speakers. It's just like literally there's
Wow.
nothing stopping him. It's so awesome. And I like just I think actually as a singer, I feel relatively I feel pretty connected, but as an instrumentalist, I'm nowhere near.
So I want to ask you about the acoustic version, but before we do that, 115, was that the song that changed everything? Or would you say it was Lullaby?
Uh I would say Lullaby was the song I thought changed everything, and then 115 came along and it like it rewrote my understanding of what could happen.
Yeah,
That was like a mind-blowing experience.
I think 115 might be one of the greatest songs in gaming history. No joke.
I mean, from a like the songwriting on that song is like absolutely inspired in my opinion. Like
Mm.
it is I don't know what Kevin's processes probably evolved over time, but that one is it seemed like it just popped out. Like, those are the kinds of songs that you're like, "Who even wrote this?" Or was it delivered to you by some divine, like
So you knew it was special when you were singing it
Oh
straight
god, yeah.
away? Yeah.
100%. I mean, I knew it was special before I sang it. I remember when I got the MP3 just to listen to it and, like, I just heard that riff and I was like, wanted to jump off my chair, you know? I started mosh pit in my living room.
Was it instantaneous success, the song? Because I remember absolutely loving it playing was it, what map was it in? Was it in Keno?
It was Keno. So
Yeah.
my memory of it in Boston, I had moved to Boston. So I moved to Boston in 2005, 2005, I think, and then I moved back to LA in 2007, and then I moved back to Boston in
Shit, you're a nomad.
2010. Yes, I was, definitely doing a lot of, moving around, and when I had just moved back to Boston is my memory, and I also think I was, like, at work, and I checked my Facebook fan page, and it suddenly had 25,000 likes, like, literally overnight or within, like, a matter of hours. Um,
What year
and
is
that was
this? Is this
this was
2010?
2010. Mhm.
Yeah. Shit.
And that was the first that I was like, "Oh, that's how viral works." It doesn't happen like you don't, like, get, like, "Oh," and it starts to, like, a couple people come in. It just, like it starts going so fast that you just have to sit back and watch it. Like, it's so shocking. And I didn't even really know like, I think I knew that Black Ops was coming out, and I must have known that the song was in it. I must have known, but I can't
Mm.
remember now. I don't think we were in, like, close I think they were like, "Oh, it's gonna come out in the next map," and I didn't really know the, like, details, and I wasn't tracking the release at the time. Now I
Yeah.
know better. It sho I was, like, at work. Like, I was, like, trying
Were you
to, like
working at Treyarch at the time?
no, I was working in a small video game studio called Demiurge.
And what did they work on? Do we know any?
Um, I'm not sure what they're up to now. I know
Okay.
at the time I was working on, um, I think it was Green Day, rock band Green Day,
Oh,
and a
cool.
rock band that actually didn't come out, so I can't say.
Yeah.
But a rock band by another band, and we wound up not doing it. But I had come there to help them work on
After
that, and
Guitar
it was
Hero, yeah. Right.
yeah, actually, it was I had worked at Treyarch, and then I decided I recorded The Mighty because the music in, COD had done so well that I thought, maybe I should try a music career for realsies, and, so I recorded The Mighty, and it was like that was work,
A lot, a
um,
lot, a lot.
a lot of work, and I was super proud of it, but I was, like, really unrealistic about what it would take to be an independent artist. Um,
Yeah.
Also, I was not realistic about the, like, financial part of it, so it's like, "I'm sure it'll be fine. These people like the music I make, then it's gonna go great," and it was like, no, it takes a long time to build a real music career, and so just didn't have the runway at the time.
Do you think that's more of the genre that you chose though for the album?
It
Possibly?
could be. I wanted to do something that was more in line with, like, the type of music that I listened to growing up.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't sure actually. So my goal was actually, I think it's a long how do I even articulate
I
this?
know, I know.
Long it's a long, the long play because I had
Yeah.
I had worked with a producer who was very, very talented, but very young. He was like very green in life. He was actually quite experienced because he was really, really ambitious. His name is Alex Nahai. He is like a really, really talented, business guy, but also musician. And he had asked me because I was looking for a producer. He was like, "What's your goal with this?" And
Mhm.
uh, I was like, I had this long list of goals and none of them were realistic. Like, to play like Mark Knopfler, that was my goal. Not realistic. And so he helped me to articulate what my goal was is that I wanted to put something together that showcased what I was capable of doing as an artist. That
Well, I
was
think
it.
it did that.
I think so too. And I feel like it was very successful. Like I'm very proud of the songs on that record. Like I wrote them all. Um, we
Oh,
did
wow, did
so
you?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I co-wrote some of them with Alex, I think.
Yeah.
Um, he did a lot of arrangement work and production work. But those are really like songs that those are like songs from the heart of Elena when she was about the age and going through the things she was going through at that time. And that was what I wanted. I like the albums that were sort of the guide were one of my favorite records of all time is called Trio. It's Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris. Like, if you want to just, like, cry tears from beauty, like, that record is just the most beautiful singing you have ever heard.
Do you ever listen, back now to The Mighty, and what do you think now, 10 years
Uh,
later?
Only now I can listen to it with an objective ear. So, I would say the process of recording the album was really difficult because I was very new to making music myself. The, like, process of reconciling your dreams and hopes with the actual reality of what you can do with the budget you have was, like, very, very painful,
Yeah.
and, also, I think it made me a better video game producer because I could work with game directors and, like, understand why they were having, like, literal existential crises over, like, "I'm
Really?
sorry, I can't give you a sniper rifle, like, why are you so upset?"
Really? Isn't that
Oh, yeah.
fascinating? Wow.
Now I get it, right? Because, like, for me, I couldn't listen to The Mighty because there were places where I, like, couldn't get a specific harmony that I really wanted, or there was a guitar part that I heard that somebody couldn't play, and it just bugged me.
Would that be an issue for you now with your new album? No.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's
It
an issue
is.
for me. It's an issue for me even with the 115 acoustic that I just put out. I actually can't listen to that.
Why
Uh,
not? Why not? Oh,
I mean, I just have a list of things that I wanted to do differently, and
you're
I didn't have
kidding.
time.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
I'm not kidding.
You're
I
funny.
wish I was kidding. I
You're
wish I was
funny.
kidding because it sounds like a
So
fun
now you
thing to
sound like a
do.
perfectionist.
I am a little bit of a perfectionist, but it's more
It's a good thing.
again, it's an opportunity cost thing. You're like, okay,
Mm.
the whole point of doing 115 acoustic was specifically to like reignite the conversation with the fans of the zombie music and reintroduce myself to them, right? Like I
Did you
feel
feel
like the
like you needed to
mighty
be reintroduced?
I think I personally, me, Elena, needed to be reintroduced. I think there's like this persona that exists that people like I was quite silent for many years because I was busy doing stuff. So there's like this persona that got created as like in the mind's eye of fans. And I never did anything one way or the other to try to like, like there are many
Yeah.
places where if you Google my name, pictures come up and they're not even of me. They're like of someone else doing a cover. Um,
Really?
yeah, because people don't know, that much about the real person. Which is totally fine. It's just more of a like, I realized there was an opportunity for me to try to like the mighty was too out there for people to understand that this is the same person. Some people just assumed there were two Elena Sigmunds, and one of them is a metal singer and one of them is a country singer.
Oh, you think there was a bit of that too?
There was
Yeah.
quite a bit of it. I still like I'd be like, I'm
Mm.
literally talking to you, and I am both of the people. And they'd be like, No, you're not.
Wow. That is
So
hilarious.
it's a challenge, right? And so I think that actually taking the time to actually be myself, and introduce myself to the people who really do love these songs. It's taken me a while to actually understand and accept that that's like a real thing.
So this is a broad question, but what should the fans know about you? What would you like them to know? I know.
Uh,
It's an impossible question.
what do I
Uh,
want? I think just more that like um I love making music of all types. Like I love the songs that I did in Zombie Mode so much. But there's like that's just one little aspect of
that's
um
not all you've done. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't want recognition for the things that I've done. Actually, that stuff kind of makes me feel a little like because most of the things I've done have been super collaborative. And so like I've played a part, but like, a part. Um, but I want the permission to do more stuff. Like I want the access to do more stuff. And for people who, to be, open.
Yeah.
Uh, and right now, right now in our just like the time that we're living in is very hard to reach people authentically. I mean, you're a content creator, you know all about it. It's like you kind of have to do things for. I'm doing stuff for the algorithm. I'm trying to make the algorithm happy. I don't like no offense algorithm, but like I don't care how you feel. But I'm like forced to fit care because,
Mm.
and that's just as a singular content creator, as a business, media in general is really struggling to like reach people who want to be reached. It's very frustrating.
Yep.
Um, and things that like the things that should reach people aren't reaching them, and things that probably don't even really need to reach people are like very, very popular. Like, I don't know how were a lot of people hoping that one day Jake Paul would fight Mike Tyson? Were we all sitting around waiting for
Geez,
that?
that was a bit of a farce, wasn't it? It
It was, but it was like,
was
I saw
huge.
it.
Yeah. I know.
I
Everyone
watched
saw
it.
it. Yeah.
And I
That's the thing. Yeah, they did win in the end. Yeah, they
don't
won.
so yeah, that's the thing, right? I feel like the whole media landscape right now, or just the entire cultural landscape, is like the checkout aisle at the supermarket. It's full of tabloids and things that are designed to just, like you grab at it. I want the candy and the sad story about the beautiful people.
The gaming industry, in terms of news as well, feels a lot like it's just all negativity. It's so draining. God.
I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and feelings about that because I think I may have mentioned this. No, I don't know if I did to, um, I don't know if I've talked about this out loud before, but I think that I was very afraid actually when I first started working on the zombie songs of like what the audience might say because I'm a little different and weird,
Mm.
and I was preparing myself for like a torrent of hate. Um, and every song that came out, I would prepare myself for it, right? And um, the amount that it didn't happen was insane. And I first started playing zombie mode with fans like in 2007, 2000, no, not 2007, 2009, maybe.
What a war, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I remember playing Shino Numa
Mhm.
with streamers before there was Twitch and all that stuff. Like,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
people would email me and be like, "Would you play this with us? Like, we're gonna be streaming." And I would be like, "What does that mean?" Right? And they're like, "Oh, well, we're gonna play zombies and people are gonna watch." And I'm like, like, it's a Friday night. And not only are you not gonna play video games, you're gonna watch me play video games? Like, I'm not even good at it. You're gonna have to carry me, like,
Yeah.
put me put me in your backpack. And it was super fun, and I was talking to all these people that were of a, like, demographic that I just expected were gonna not only not like me, were going to be mean to me. I mean, like, we've all seen the videos of, like, women who play COD and they get screamed out of a lobby, and, that
Mhm.
was I was an FPS player, like, in the '90s. I played a lot of Quake 2. I went to a
Nice.
lot of LAN parties. I was
Nice.
really, really into it, and the, like, gatekeeping was extreme, and so I was pretty concerned, and the outpouring from the community of, like, "We love this. We want more of it. You belong. Not only do you belong here, you've shaped this community," was absolutely like, that was like that changed everything.
Well, it
Um,
did.
yeah.
It really did. Those songs, I mean, one after the other, hit after hit.
They
You
just
just
said, "Well,
couldn't.
that's Kevin for you. He can't stop himself."
He's a genius.
He's a musical genius. It's
Man.
really incredible, and when he's on fire, you're just like, you can't believe what you're watching. Um,
Are you still close with him?
yeah, we talk as often as his schedule allows. You think I'm busy,
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
but yeah, he, is quite inspiring.
Is he high up now with Treya? Because he's been there for, like, a
Yeah,
long
I mean,
time.
he's been I
Yeah.
remember when we started and, I don't know the structure of how it works there
Nah.
anymore. It's been a long time,
Yeah.
and I haven't worked with Treyarch in ages, but I'm pretty sure I know he's got a lot on his plate for sure. And there are
So
some people at Treyarch, they've been there for decades.
I feel like you're the only one that can get away with working on another game while working on another game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
I don't know
Elena,
how I
can you
did
do
that
this
either.
zombie song for us? Oh, yeah, you're working on, that. No one cares. Yeah, come on over." Like, how do you
No.
get away with that? You know what I mean?
Uh, it is
Uh,
because I had the dual role of being in production at other companies, but being a performer. So I was like, I mean, I might as well have been two totally
2
separate
different
people.
brands or something, yeah.
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 And if I had had like, let's say there had been another SAG AFTRA artist named Elena Sigmund, and I was like, my name's Delana Migman. Like, you would never know that they were the same person,
Yeah, yeah.
because I was doing them in different capacities. I'm sure we did more than one thing that if like anybody had caught wind of it, they would have been like,
So who was the genius that came up with click these three things for a song
I
to
don't
appear?
I so I'm gonna say that that was probably Brian Toohey, the audio director.
Legend. Yes.
He is a legend. Honestly, if
He's a
you wanna
legend.
know who are the behind the scenes people that nobody really talks about,
Brian. Yeah.
Brian freaking Toohey. That guy is amazing. He has been a dear friend of mine for a long time, but he is just, like, always making magic. Like,
Well, whenever I hear his name, it's positive. It's
yeah,
you know,
he's awesome. He's
yeah.
awesome. And I'm almost 100% sure that that was his, because it just has him written all over it. I don't know for sure, but I like, and it may have been a collaborative effort of like, we should put Easter eggs in.
Yeah.
Um, but he and I worked together at a tiny studio called Gigawatt, and he's the audio director at Treyarch, but he was a game designer at Gigawatt, and we worked on all kinds of stuff together, like, Disney games and Barbie games. And um, by the way, the amount of passion that the developers at Gigawatt put into the Barbie game, Secret Agent Barbie, is
Well, that's a
like,
beloved game, isn't it?
I think
Is
it,
it?
I think it did really well. I
Okay.
believe it is. I will tell you, as a child, I had a Nintendo NES and I got a Barbie game, and it was not as good as Secret Agent Barbie at all. It was not good, and I'm still mad about it because I wanted Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Does
Uh,
she have a gun in Secret Agent, Barbie? How does it
no, in
work? No.
fact, if I recall, the first design did have Barbie. She didn't have a gun, but she was like choking people out, and
Oh,
Mattel was
that'd be
like,
sick.
Barbie does not choke
No.
people out,
Yeah.
right? So, but they needed some, because she's a secret agent, right? So the story, I think, was that there was like some fashionista lady who was like going to make an invisible suit and steal all the diamonds or something. And so Secret Agent Barbie had to stop her. And she had all these gadgets, right? And one of her gadgets, because you needed to disable, security guards and stuff. So she had a compact, and she could blow powder in their face, and then they would be like disabled.
That's cool. That's actually
But
creative.
they worked,
Yeah.
like, it was a bunch of really young game designers. We were all working in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And everybody was really
Everyone had a
working
dream.
weird so much. Yeah.
Mm,
I was actually working on the roller coaster game, Ultimate Ride. Um,
nice.
and they were also making Secret Agent Barbie at the same time. But everybody was in it to win it. We worked really long hours, and we worked really, really hard. And I remember that was where I met Brian. But we would talk about, we were making other games there and trying to, like, make cool games that we might get published somewhere. And he had crazy good ideas. And
You've just come up with a great idea. Barbie with a gun choking out motherfuckers.
honestly,
That's a
like, yeah,
that's a
like
billion
Murder
dollar
Barbie.
idea.
Why isn't there Murder Barbie? I would love Murder Barbie.
Mattel are just too protective, aren't they, of their IP?
Mattel will never work with me
Mm.
because I just think I want to murder Barbie, but I do. I really do. I was the girl that, like, would take my Barbies and, like, cut their hair and, like, give them like eyeliner and make them really
Yeah.
scary.
So did you do any screaming? Is that the right term for it? Like for 115 before that song? For those songs?
Uh,
Had you done an experience doing that?
yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, from the, like, just basic, like, as a kid, I used to love to scream. Like, it was like the thing I would do. Like, I would go to amusement parks just so I could scream on the roller coasters and stuff. Um,
Because
and
it's
people would,
free place to do it, yeah.
yeah, and people would tell me, like, "Wow, you have a great scream."
Mm.
And it was like, it was a joyful experience. I remember loving it even as a kid. And then, um, when I was in my band, Valiant, in, um, in Boston, I definitely screamed along, you know, like, that was just like a punctuation thing. It's like there would be certain songs where, I wasn't the front person. That was Helen McWilliams. So, but I would sing backup. And sometimes my backup was literally just screaming at the top of my lungs.
So Kevin knew you had it in you.
I don't know if he knew. I remember
Really?
the first time we did it. Well, he must have because it was a slow burn. So we did Lullaby, then we did the one, and the one has that, I call it the like zombie rap. That you're kind of like rapping, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember like I was like, there's no way that I can do this and sound cool. It's gonna sound so like this is gonna be bad, man. And I tried it in the mic and it was in fact bad. And he said, try biting the insides of your cheeks and just keep your teeth together. And then I did it and it sounded freaking cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how he knows this stuff.
Geez, this guy's fucking genius, isn't he?
I don't know how he knew, but he was right. And it wasn't even so much that I needed to use that technique as much as I needed the permission to sound kind of weird, to try stuff because I'm very self-conscious, especially when it comes to singing. And like, if I sound bad, that's it. Like I literally like drop the mic. I'm getting in my car. I'm driving to Arizona. I'm changing my number.
No, I get
So,
it. I understand. Yeah.
like he created that sort of safe space for me to do that stuff. And then, there's a lot of voices in that song. So I remember we tried a bunch of different things and they're all layered in there. You can hear the like in the background, like something about like your skin, it tastes like chocolate. And then there's like another voice that's like, oh, it tastes good. Like there's like another voice
Yes.
that's
That's
like,
all you.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes me go fanatic. And then I screamed, making me go fanatic like a maniac. So
Such a good song.
he knew I could do a lot of different voices if encouraged. And then when we did Beauty of Annihilation, I came into the studio and he had a mic wired through a distorted amp. And he was like, try screaming. And the distortion made it sound terrifying. And it was super fun. And I wasn't sure exactly how to do it, but when I lived in Boston, I would see a lot of hardcore bands live and stuff. So I remember the person I decided to imitate is my friend Troy from a band called Razors in the Night. And so I was like, it makes no sense. Troy is like this giant bodybuilding, like 2 4. So like for me to try to imitate him was insane, but it totally worked. And it sounded great. So by the time we got to 115, I think he was pretty confident that something good would happen. I was less confident.
Man.
And when we did what was the line? The like, I am the chosen one, left hand of all that's like, when I did
No
that,
more forgiveness.
we just started laughing. Everyone started laughing because it was so absurd. Like I did the take and it sounded so cool that everyone busted up for a good 20 minutes. Like it was just this like, I can't believe that just
But
happened.
you knew that was it? You knew
Oh,
we've
we
got
knew it
it?
was gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
great, right? Like, I mean, it was like, wow, look at this thing that happened. Who knew that was in there?
But the thing with these songs is they must be hard to perform live or impossible, right?
I've never done it. Well, I've never
I don't think
done.
anyone has.
So I have seen with a choir. I just did that
Yes.
in Edmonton for the second time, and that is hard.
Congrats, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that went great. And it was super fun experience. Hard, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not like if I was trying to also do the screaming.
Did
I haven't
you
done.
so how did that work? Did you do all the songs or just a couple or how did it?
Ooh, I think they had arranged like 11. So, which ones did I do? I know I've got the program right here actually. Just
How
happen to have it.
many zombie songs have you done?
I think 13 or 14.
All right.
I always forget which one it is.
So who'd they leave off the list? The coming for
It's
you.
basically everything from the World at War era. Actually,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
true because 115's in there.
Okay.
Um, So we did Abracadabra was what we started with. Then Maluka was there, so she did Where Are We Going? Beauty of Annihilation I did. Then didn't have Clark, so there's a guy named Hendrik who sang We All Fall Down. Super,
Oh,
so good. Um,
nice.
and then I did Lullaby, Paradolia, Coming Home.
Geez, that's a
Then
hard string. That's
yeah, well, Coming Home I didn't have to scream. They redid it like
okay.
beautiful choral piece. Actually, it's absolutely gorgeous. Then Hendrik did Carry On, Carrion. I
Yeah.
did 115 and the one Maluka did Always Running, and then we did Archangel. So yeah, that was
Shit, I wish I was there.
it was freaking badass, especially because the
uh,
choir was so good. They were
man.
like really, really rehearsed, and there were so many singers, and they were like spot on, and um the arrangements were beautiful. They were just incredible. Some of the songs, I would say Paradolia was by far the hardest to sing. That one, there's no breathing allowed.
That's
It's got
daunting. So,
a lot of high notes. And then it has the tongue twister, the I might try to have my light tonight. See, I can't, it was like you have to drill it. And the problem with that tongue twister is you cannot get back on. If you fall off of it, it's over. It's just like a train wreck. You have to do every word right.
so how did you work it? Did you just do a lot of rehearsal?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I rehearsed quite a bit before I got there just to try to get like actually most of my rehearsal was just getting in stronger voice. It's like a workout,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And then when I got there, we sang with the choir, and then it was like finding the places where I would get lost. And then I went back to my hotel room and I just drilled it. I never got the tongue twister right in rehearsals, and I was complaining about every time I get there, I always give Kevin a hard time. I'm like, "Why did you do this to me? You're a monster, and I'm never gonna forgive you." And, I could tell that he was like, feel really bad." Um, I could feel it in the audience, like, with the people that knew that I was struggling with it when I got through it at the performance, they were like, "Phew." Like, my
Oh,
husband was like, "Oh god, I was so nervous."
oh, that's sweet.
I know.
Is he in the business?
He works in video game development. Yeah, he's a producer. Oh well, a development director at Full Circle, which is making Skate.
God, this is the most talented household, I think.
We have the
Jesus
coolest house.
Christ.
I
Far
know.
out. We'll just name a game
The
and you guys
coolest
have
stuff
either
is
worked on it
happening
or
here.
know about it.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, when you've been in the industry for a really long time, like that's where you meet all your friends.
It is cool. So, Guitar Hero, what was your role on that? That is such a great set of games, especially the first few. I know you're majority on 2?
Yeah, so I went to work for Harmonix to be the lead game designer on Karaoke Revolution Party.
Yeah.
Uh, and Karaoke Revolution Party and Guitar Hero were being developed at the same time. So, the whole studio was like, was working on one of those 2 projects, but most of the studio was working on Karaoke Revolution Party. And,
Well, Guitar Hero
um,
was an afterthought, I think.
Guitar Hero was more like a passion project. That was
Really?
not considered. No, I
Wow.
remember actually our CEO, Alex Rogopoulos, gave a presentation where he was like, "Don't get attached. This game is not gonna do well. Nobody wants it. We're lucky to
My
be making
goodness.
it. Just don't, like, don't get your hopes up. It's gonna sell mouse nuts." Was literally those were the words he said. I know, it's like
And why
could
did it
not have
but
been more
why
wrong.
did he think that though? What was the was it the rights with the songs, that kind of thing? Was
No.
it
So
no?
here's the thing. I think that people, I mean, this is normal human stuff, but like we don't remember the world before a world changing thing happened. So before Guitar Hero, there were a bunch of music peripheral games that were super niche and never did well.
That's
So
true.
and also just music games in general. So like there was some like um wisdom that nobody wanted peripheral games. That was like the first thing, right? So like music games with a peripheral are gonna like so I know I personally I injured myself playing Samba de Amigo. I loved that game so much. But it did not I didn't like I'm not gonna sue anyone. I just like I played it too long and it hurt. But I definitely remember that at that time there were a bunch of there was the like the Donkey Konga and
Mm,
there were just a bunch of like sort of niche games that were amazing, but they didn't sell well and they were super expensive.
yep.
So the first thing was don't make a game for a peripheral. You're going to die. It's going to fail. No one wants to spend money on a peripheral. That was like the first like myth. And the other one was Harmonix's own experience with the games that they've been making. Their entire mission when I started was we want to make games or just software, really, I think. We just want to bring the joy of being a musician to people without them having to learn to play an instrument. That was the
Mm.
mission statement.
Was this before Activision, by the way?
Oh, yeah. This was when
Right.
they were an independent
By
studio.
themselves, yep, yep.
Yeah. And they had been formed by Alex and Iran, who had worked at MIT, who had gone to school at MIT together. And I remember they formed the idea to start Harmonix in a Cinnabon. So every anniversary we had to eat Cinnabon. That was like their tradition. Everybody got diabetes every year. But then
Uh, can we have
and
another
so
tradition this year, guys?
can we have a vegetable tradition? I want a vegetable.
I'll be out of work that day, sadly,
Yeah,
every year.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they had made several products before that were music based. They had made a product called the Axe, which wasn't even really a game. It was like you had a joystick and you could like make things happen with it musically. I don't remember.
I don't even
You
remember
couldn't even
that.
play it
Yeah.
when I got there. Yeah, it was like I mean, I'm sure that copies of it are now worth money, but
Mm.
um and then they had a game called Frequency and a game called Amplitude. Amplitude was
Mm.
where I found out about them. But it did not do well
Really?
in terms of sales. No, it was like the first Amplitude, it didn't. The first Frequency did really badly, and then the Amplitude did like less badly.
So can I ask that all I'm hearing is commercial failures. So how are they
Yeah.
still running at this point?
Well, uh, honestly, I don't know. I think they had, I mean, first of all, you'll hear, I don't know if you know who Sean Layden is, but I was
Yeah.
watching the
Yeah,
talk,
yeah.
and he was talking about how those were the golden days of experimentation because you could, when you're making investments, you don't expect everyone to do well. You have a portfolio of things and you're expecting of that portfolio a certain return, which means that you might have a couple turkeys in there or things that could do well, but just don't for whatever reason. And when it comes to entertainment, you can make something amazing and it just doesn't land for some reason that you haven't figured out. So that was definitely the like that was normal for my entire career that you might make a game and it would not do great and it wasn't your
They're not gonna
end.
take you out and shoot you, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
like they do
But
now. Mm.
they didn't cost the amount that they cost, and
Right. True.
there are many, 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 many reasons for that. I could, like write. I could literally write a book. Maybe I should write a book, but
You should.
yeah, like
You should write.
there's so many reasons why it costs so much more, but it was quite reasonable to make games at Harmonix at that time.
Mm.
I don't know that I'm at liberty to talk about what the budget for Guitar Hero was, but I will say if I told you, you would not believe how low it was.
Couple
Um,
of mil?
maybe even less than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit, that's crazy. That's
That's
unheard
not
of.
including the hardware costs. That's not including marketing. That's not including
Yeah, but still, that's crazy.
but
Yeah, that's
it was
unbelievable. How big's the
it was
team?
incredibly reasonable. What's that?
How big was the team? Was it a big team or just normal?
No, I think it was
No?
probably like 20 people,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
30.
Mhm.
By the time I got to Guitar Hero 2, maybe we got up to 60, 65 at the maximum. I don't really remember.
So you
But it
did
was
work on 1 or not?
I was like one adjacent. So the thing about what was happening at that time was we were making two games that were both music-based games, and we were building our engine out. And so we were learning from each other on both of those projects. And it was much more like I was not on the Guitar Hero project. I was very busy with Karaoke Revolution Party, but I was also playing Guitar Hero every day, and giving feedback and you know what I mean? And like fighting with people about the song list. And it
What did
was
you
just
give me a fight that you won on the set list.
I don't know that I ever won a single fight. I lost them all. The biggest one, this was actually on Guitar Hero 2. The one that I was the most mad about. Oh, was it 2 or was it I don't remember which one it was, but I
Okay.
remember that we had a Distillers song, and I love the Distillers. And I was like, "Man, and Brody's so badass," and we finally have like there's not a lot of female fronted acts on these lists.
No.
And for some reason, the licensing fell through, the song fell through. It wasn't like we cut it, it just like we couldn't have it.
Ah, okay. Yep.
And they replaced it with Cherry Pie by Warrant.
Ah, yep.
And I was like, the slap in the face that was that replacement. I mean, I think it was that was like the next one on the list that they could get. And so it was like how it worked out. But I was just like, this is an outrage. I was so mad.
Hey, I will the set lists are pretty good though, you gotta admit them.
They are great.
They are
They're
good.
great.
I
And
mean, they
mostly
introduced me to a lot of those songs from that time because I was
oh
only
god,
I was young, so
those bands, they were so well picked. And,
mm,
I didn't really have any say over the song list. I just had lots of opinions. Um, so I would say, like, for me, the, like, kind of impact that I would have as, like, the producer is, like, I would, like, march down to the audio guys and be like, "This phrase is too hard," or, like, "You need to put a star power phrase here, sir." That was, like, the kinda stuff. And they'd be like, "No, it's fine." And I'd be like, watch me fail." That was more like my
so
level of contribution there.
2 would have been much easier than 1, right? Because everything's built out then. It's
It
kinda
was
smooth, so and 1 sold well, didn't it?
one sold well. One,
Yeah.
it was really awesome to be part of watching it go exactly not how we expected.
But 2
Um,
did better than 1, didn't it?
2 did better than 1, 3 did better than 2.
Yeah,
Like, they were exponential growth. But
yeah.
from our perspective, from my perspective at the time, whereas like I had never made anything that had that level of cultural impact. I'd never been anywhere near it. Um, and we knew we had something special because Penny Arcade made a comic about us.
Yeah, that's a good nod,
Like
yeah.
when that happened, we were like, and then the guy from Penny Arcade came to our office and he was like, "I love your game." And we were like, um, and then there were like several Guitar Hero comics on Penny Arcade. And then sometimes people were making, there was like a video someone made of them playing Guitar Hero. Like they made like a whole storyline. We were like, people like it.
What's that office like? Because is there just guitar peripherals literally everywhere?
Oh, I don't know what it's like now. It's been a long, long, long time. But in 2005, 2006, I there was no better place on earth than the Harmonix offices. It was
Ah,
just such like it was on the 6th floor of like an office building in Boston. And so we had like kind of a cool view of the city and the Charles River and stuff. And it was like a big loop. And everyone had like little offices, like some of them were shared, but you like had an office where you could close the door. And there was this area called the Freak Pit, which is named after frequency. And that's where people would like hang out and we would sometimes have meetings and stuff. I don't remember having a lot of meetings. or being in, like, I think we had one conference room.
What was your
Which is
role?
my role.
Producer?
Producer.
Yeah.
I was the lead game designer on Karaoke Revolution Party, and then I moved back into production, for Guitar Hero 2.
So what's day to day like? Has it changed over the years for you?
Oh, so much. I mean,
Really?
yeah, I feel right now I'm a little bit more of a, like, returning to my roots because 'cause I'm working with, like, on, less junky
Indeed.
things.
Yep.
Like, after when I went to work at Bungie, that was when everything changed, like, from my and scale-wise and what my job was like and the problems I was solving in the day-to-day. Very, 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 very different. Um,
Can you give us
but
some insight on that? Sorry to
oh my
interrupt.
god, yeah, I mean, just, like, with, the biggest team that I think I had ever managed was at Harmonix, and that was maybe 65 people, I'm guessing. It was never bigger than I not only did I know everyone's names, I knew everyone's, like, tasks. You could
Wow.
ask me, like, "What's this person doing?" And I would be like, "I know I could literally tell you what they are doing right now."
That's a
Right?
skill.
Sort of. I think, we were all in quite, like, we were working very closely, and so, um but, when I was working on Destiny, there were, like, over 1,000 people in the spreadsheet that were gonna touch it.
Oof,
There's
man.
no you can't know every name. You can't
It's not
know
possible.
every check-in. You can't know, it starts to feel like you're like, "About what am I even doing here? There's so many things happening that I can't know." But so you have this chain of accountability, that
So
is
you're going to their managers and then they're kinda going to their is it that
yeah.
much of a flow on? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't even know how to articulate it, but, like, even though you can't know everything, you gotta try, and you have to formulate, so my job really became creating the framework to keep track of all that flow of communication, to set up a system, and you have to find a way to make things that aren't objective, objective.
Interesting.
Um So things like, "Hey, we don't know if this is fun yet." And you're like, "Okay, well, when will you know if it's gonna be fun?" And they're like, "I don't know if it's ever gonna be fun." And you're like, "Okay, well, when should we decide to cut bait if it's not fun? How are you going to try to make it fun? How will you test
But they're
if it
still
is fun?"
open-ended questions, aren't they?
They're
You know
still
what I
very
mean?
open-ended, but you
Yeah.
just are, like, trying to subdivide until you can get to a place where it is more objective.
Mm.
Basically, it's like you're just, trying to bring people into each other's brains more. Eventually, you just become a hive mind in this really disturbing way. It's
What
kind of
everyone
crazy.
knows what everyone's thinking kind of thing.
Well, and, like, you're saying words that no one else understands, but, people,
Ah. Yeah. Yeah.
everybody knows what you mean. Like,
Mhm.
when we started this conversation, I used the term friction. That is a live game, investment game term. That's where I picked it up for sure.
In what context would they use it?
Uh, Friction in terms of, like, you needing to grind to get something,
Mm.
right? So, like, let's say you're making a video game that has a long tail of rewards, then you're gonna set up friction because you're not gonna just give it to everybody on day one. You're doing some calculation, like, this is gonna
But
be valuable.
I feel like Destiny players of all players, they like the grind. They're one of the don't you think? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda like Call of
Uh,
Duties as well.
I think that, human nature is to grind.
Mm.
There's something so satisfying about somebody telling you, like, "Just run around the block 15 times and I'll give you a cheeseburger." You're like, "Yeah." It makes the block running fun, and then you get a cheeseburger. Like, what is wrong with that's great. That's like that's deep in our DNA, I think.
Yeah. So you how long did you work there for? You worked on the Witch King Queen.
No, I didn't. Well,
No?
they said I did because I think, that was, like, when the credits you like, I was there from 2014 to 2018, late 2018, so I was there for the launch of Destiny, Destiny 2, and then I was the executive producer on Forsaken, and then I left.
And what made your decision to leave?
It was that I had the opportunity to try to bring a new IP to market with EA.
Yeah.
That was like, I mean, I think a big thing that drives me in everything I do is I'm like, one day I will be 6 feet under, and I want to have said that I did everything I could to make things be awesome.
Yeah. So you really wanna make your mark with a new IP, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think it was more like, uh, there's so many games out there that I personally can't believe they exist. They're so amazing. Like, Um, I just like for right now, I'm like reignited my obsession with Hades. So Hades. Um, but mostly because I just can't believe it exists. It's so freaking cool. And like the ways in which it might not have ever come to be
I
are
haven't played it, Lena. I
well,
know
it's still
I
out there. You can play it at
I
any
will.
time.
I am going to play it. It is on my list.
It's
It's
so
right up
good.
there. No, I
You know,
know. Everyone tells me you'll love it. Yeah.
It's like a perfect example, actually, I think of like a game that understands the human desire to grind and it gives you more than that.
Well, you can do like little runs and get better each time, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah, you can get better, but it's also more like the more how do
You learn
I
the
it
environments and
yeah,
yeah.
nothing you do ever feels like a waste of your time.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It just feels like everything is building to something, even if it's like a little aspect, you're just everything is useful. All of your time is both satisfying and useful.
Did you ever play Returnal?
I love it.
Yeah.
It was hard. Actually, I should say I did not beat Returnal because it was too hard.
Yeah. I got towards the end and then like got stuck. Like got a game breaking bug. That was
Yeah.
annoying.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Because you
Yeah.
gotta because you that's it, you gotta go back. But,
Yeah. Oh
no,
no,
I
that's
loved the
that's not
music.
good.
The music in that game was incredible, I thought,
I
like,
love the
ethereal.
storytelling, the way that the storytelling is, leaned into the framework of the game. That, to me, is a perfect example of a game that tells a story in a way that only a game can,
So true,
and I
so
love
true.
that stuff. I live for that stuff. Hades does something similar. You just cannot get that story. I mean, somebody could sit down and tell you the story, but it just wouldn't have
Can
the
be the
same
same.
impact.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that about, video games in general. When the entire mechanical structure of the game is thematically in line with um, like, the story it's trying to tell. It's just like them like, that is art. That's high art. And so
So
I
you
loved Returnal, yeah.
so you went to EA. I know you can't say what the project or
Mhm.
anything, but what are some things you learned from that project, I guess? And how long were you there, and then where did you go from there?
I think that most of my career has been well, up until I worked on Destiny, most of the projects that I worked on were in some form of distress.
Oh, as in you were in distress or
No, not me, the
no?
project. Like, it was like, it's gotta get out the door. There was, like,
Right, there's a mad rush.
no if there was quality concern, like, obviously quality was a concern, but, like, you were gonna have to make it be of high quality, regardless. There was no, like, "Oh, we're just gonna hold it until it's good." I think that well, BioShock Infinite had some of that, but then after a while, we ran out the clock. We had to get it out the door. Um, and Destiny, I think there was a commitment to quality at Bungie that is unlike any place I've ever seen. So, um, what I noticed actually about the way that they worked at Bungie was that they had set themselves up to succeed with quality by just recognizing that certain features weren't ready and not releasing them, but not holding the whole train up. So I had learned a lot about, how to keep the ball in the air, even though it wasn't totally ready from that. But when I got into the new IP world, that's not a time gated thing. You have to you have to be able to prove at a moment's notice that this is going to be good, regardless of what the landscape of the world is. It's like no tether to anything that is like 100% true.
Mm.
And and it was a big, big title that I was working on. And so the budget was really big and the studio, remained the same, but the strategy of the entire company changed. The leadership of the company changed. The market forces had changed. Um, the original idea had gotten greenlit, and then Battlefield 5 and Battlefront 2 both had come out, very different worlds.
Is this like at the peak of microtransactions, live service sort of era? Yeah, and that would have made it difficult too.
Yeah, because there was this expectation. So this is another thing that I think people are not quite, maybe people who are not in the game industry, actually people who even are, they have a short memory for what the market looked like and what the industry looked like before and after the pandemic. There
Hmm.
was an idea that you couldn't make a game if it wasn't a live service game. Nobody would want it. That was the story.
Was that true?
No, I don't think it was true, but the data maybe made it look like it was true. There were a couple of things, just like I was saying, there was this myth that you couldn't make a game with a peripheral and anybody would want it. It's one of those things that's true until it's not. It's you know, it's not true. It's just a boogeyman. And so, so many things are part of the reason why games get made in the format that they do. So I strongly believe that multiplayer is as big of a thing because of GameStop. Because you had to have multiplayer in your game so people wouldn't sell your game back to GameStop. Right? So everyone that plays games now finds multiplayer to be important because it was in every game that they played. They don't know how to enjoy games as a single player experience, but that wasn't my experience growing up. Most of the games I played were in my room by myself, wrapped up like a burrito and listening to Faith No More while I was playing my NES. That was my experience. So I don't have the same,
No.
just I don't engage the same way. I had to relearn how to engage playing games. I mean, obviously then I got into shooters and stuff like that. But um the people who are deciding whether or not there is an audience for something, they're looking at what people say they want, and people say they want the thing that they can imagine, which is what they did before.
But with Bungie, why did they always they were sold to PlayStation, they were sold to Activision, they kept getting sold around. Why
So
was
they were
that?
never sold to Activision,
No?
actually.
Okay.
No, they were bought originally by Microsoft in
Okay.
100 million years ago. Like, Microsoft acquired them as the flagship
For
for
Halo.
their
Yeah.
Xbox, right? And what they did was they shifted a paradigm. They made a shooter on an Xbox. The only other game that had ever shipped a shooter on a console was GoldenEye.
Yeah,
That
shit.
was nobody had ever played an enjoyable. I remember at the time because I was a big shooter player, right? Where you were like, well, you'll never have a game like Quake or Counter-Strike on a console because you need the keyboard and the mouse. And yeah, are you hot? It needs to be multiplayer. We're not going to play that over their dial-up internet. That was the story at the time. So Bungie got acquired by Microsoft. They made Halo. Halo became a cornerstone of the entire console market, and people fell in love with Halo to do when I started working at Bungie, I'd be like, I'd be at the bank, like cashing a paycheck, and they would be like, "You're at Bungie, I love Halo." Like it was
Did they leave
wild.
Halo? Do you know why they left Halo? Was
They
it,
wanted to be independent. It was
independent and do
like,
their own
yeah.
thing? Yeah, yeah.
And, so I would say too, their motto was "Put a dent in the universe" or something like that. I think that
W
was like one of their pillars, right? You can't put a dent in the universe on like a publishing budget from, you know, a random
Yeah,
publishing company. You
yeah.
need to like you need
Right.
a budget
You need
that
a
is gonna
budget, yeah.
it's gonna make people cry when they read the numbers. That's how big your budget needs to be. Like the audacity of Destiny. It was absolutely outrageous that they like thought they could do that, and they did it. Like it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And it
Destiny
was
1, I played hundreds of hours, yeah,
but
literally.
it was so uh ambitious
Mm.
that people couldn't understand it, and, like, even people that were working on it didn't understand it, and,
I feel like you wouldn't get a game like Destiny now. No way would that be.
well, you also wouldn't get the games that have happened that have either like, you also wouldn't get Fortnite without Destiny, I don't think.
No, I don't think either. No way.
Um, like, maybe because, like, somebody was gonna do it, but, the idea that you would engage with a game like that where it's very, like, sandbox focused. And because that was the crazy thing about Destiny that I think people didn't understand, which was it did have a grind, but it also had a deeply rewarding, like,
Oh.
game feel and loop that was not
Oh,
related,
yeah.
right? So, like, you could pick up a controller and play Destiny without making the numbers go up or without getting an exotic or without, like,
And still have
really
fun. Yes,
and
yes.
just have had a very enjoyable experience. And what I think we all
Yeah.
learned was that that is a real delicate balance. You will erase the joy you get from one or the other if you don't balance it right.
Were you there for the loot cave? Do you remember that?
Oh, very well. I
Were
was
they
there for
pissed
that
about
wizard
they
came
were
from the
pissed.
moon.
Yeah.
No,
No?
I mean, honestly, so again, the memory that people have, when Destiny came out, it got bad, bad, bad reviews.
Did it?
Oh my God. It was like, ugh,
Really?
it got a 6 from Polygon, and,
Well,
people
yeah.
thought that and that was when reviews mattered the most. I think now it doesn't quite review scores don't quite mean what they meant then. At that time, you needed a 9. Like, if you didn't get a 9, you sucked if you were at that level, right? And everyone working on Destiny for years, they were doing the career-defining work of their lives. They were, like, at the edge of, you know,
Mm.
just like, they were busting their biggest brains to make this thing come together. It was like everyone was so proud, and I they knew what they had, but it was not is something that people really understood when they first started playing it. And there were, it got over the finish line a little rough in some places, particularly in the narrative and the, performances. And so that was when people compared it to Halo, which had these like really cinematic campaigns that were really meaningful and these characters that they had, fallen in love with. Destiny fell really flat for them.
Cool. I can cut this out, but Peter Dinklage, what was the story with that? I'm curious. I can cut this
uh,
out.
I mean, I don't really know the whole story. I just know that when I got there, I had just finished working on Bioshock Infinite. And, I had been working on these pipelines where we got these like next level performances out of our actors. And I knew the cast of Destiny, and I was like, if we got the performances we got out of people like, I mean, like, not to say that like Troy Baker isn't an amazing actor, but he's not Peter Dinklage, right? Like, it was like, I cannot wait, especially knowing that Bungie was famous for what they were famous for. I couldn't wait to go work with them because I figured they had probably solved a bunch of things that we were struggling with at Irrational. And so the first thing they had me do when I got there was to play the game. It was like in an alpha state. And and I played it and I didn't quite understand it, honestly. And I remember going to my boss and being like, "Why did you have like these really expensive actors record temp dialogue?" And he was like, "Oh no." Like, that's the dialogue, Elena.
Oh, man. So
So I don't really know
internally
exactly what happened. I do
internally,
know
they knew, but it was just too big.
well,
It was too big of a
yeah, it
task,
was
yeah.
too big to fix, and,
It all worked out in the end with
it
Nolan.
all was
Yeah.
that's actually my point because I
He
don't
was
really
great.
yeah, and I don't really remember like, I've heard all of the lore as to why, and there's, like, a million stories about, this person did that or this person had this, grievance or
Yeah.
but, I honestly think really what happened in the end is that there were Destiny was so big that something was gonna have to suffer to get it over the finish line, and it happened to be the narrative. Like,
Yeah.
they were more focused on the moment-to-moment gameplay, on the, like, investment game, and on the amazing graphics and the incredible launch, and I think they just thought that they would get, you know, that people wouldn't bounce off of it quite as hard as they did. And
Gameplay, yeah, it's probably more important than that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I will say one thing, I have a lot of respect for everyone at Bungie and everything I learned there. And one of the things that culturally that studio is great at is prioritization. Um,
Mm.
and
Mm.
so, if their back was against the wall, they made the right choices, I think. I mean, at the time, being a person with a deep narrative experience, it hurt me in my soul to go from BioShock Infinite to releasing Destiny and being like, you know, I was like, there's so many things that I wish that we could have done differently. But I also know that like when you're doing a live game, you actually there are certain things that you can, fix over time. So I do think it's interesting though that people don't remember that Destiny's launch was fraught. It was really, really difficult. It got really, really bad reviews. People didn't understand it. They didn't like
But
they
it's
didn't like the
sold well,
leveling
didn't it?
system. It sold incredibly well. So the
But
sell through was there.
there's such a contrast in that.
And
Yeah.
when a game sells well before it's come out, that means it had a really successful marketing campaign. That's all it means because no one's seen it yet. So there are many games that have sold really, really well and then people didn't like them. You know, it's happened many, many times. I won't list them all because I'll get in trouble for name checking them, but like there's many famous games like that. So I guess like
But
um
it's what I'm saying is it continued to sell well, didn't it?
it
Even
did
after that?
because so what happened was the game came out, the reviews were bad, people were really, really upset, but the numbers of people who were playing it never went down. So people were saying they hated it, but they were
Mm.
playing it. And
Mhm.
it was the most written about game on the internet. So we were like, "Hmm,
Something here. Yeah.
yeah." And then the loot cave happened. And
Oh, wow.
it was actually, I think that wizard came from the moon was the first like glimmer of hope. Like that had been a meme and then we made t-shirts. Maybe the loot cave was around the same time. I can't quite remember. Um,
I
but
love
I
how you were
do
there for the loot cave. That's
oh, the
fantastic.
loot cave was like such a I mean, I experienced the loot cave as a player too. It was just
Yeah, same
such
here.
a
I loved it. It was great.
wonderful experience and it was so funny. And um it helped me actually understand the game even though I had been working on it. Like the game was mostly done when I had not done, but it was like getting pretty close to shipping. I was working on the marketing campaign. So I was playing the game, but like honestly, my deep understanding of it wasn't that important. And so like I was trying really hard, but there were certain things that I just didn't get. Like I really did not understand how you got to level 30. I capped out at 28 and I did not understand the light system and I was kinda like, "I guess it's just me that doesn't understand." So, like, I didn't wanna look dumb. You know? It's like an issue at the time, and then it came out and everybody was
Oh,
like, "How do you get to level 30?" And I was like, "I know, right?"
that is fascinating that even in the team So you're part of the marketing campaign.
Uh-huh.
Now that was a great, as you said, marketing campaign for
It was
Destiny
awesome.
was
Yeah.
friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
So what's some cool stuff you got to do for that you remember?
Well, my job so I had run the marketing department at Irrational. And then I moved back into development. So I've done a lot of like, coming in and out and they were looking for somebody who could sort of speak developer and speak marketing because there were a lot of the way you talk to fans about a game is not the way you talk to people who don't know about your game yet. So, marketing is for people who don't know about your product, and PR and community is for people who do, and you don't use the same words. Um, and there was a lot of sort of like, uh, butting heads over the tactics because the marketing campaign from Activision was like, "Venus, baby," and like and the, like, way that Bungie talks about Destiny, it's like there's sweeping orchestral music and the star map, and Bill Nighy is reading to you. It's like, they're not
Yeah.
the same.
That's
And
so true.
so my whole job was to try to like get people closer together. So like somebody at Activision would be like, "We need to make this commercial. Can you get somebody at Bungie to give us the raw assets that like Digital Domain is going to need to put them into and then I'd be like, "Hey, can we have this thing?" And they'd be like, "That's not going in the commercial. You can't have that. That's a secret." Like that was the kind of and there are things that got into the marketing campaign that people were quite salty about, like things happening in the commercial that the characters couldn't do. Um, and some of that stuff was a problem and some of it wasn't, you know. I remember the part where they jump into the cave at the end of that commercial. That's I think where
Mm,
um they ended or something. They didn't want that scene because they thought it would spoil the raid,
that's interesting. Yeah,
right?
I can see what they mean, but
Now,
yeah,
today,
now,
it would be a
exactly, but
problem.
yeah,
But nobody
different time.
knew about Destiny, right? So, like, that was the cultural problem, was that Bungie was, like, thinking 10 years ahead, which is awesome, but crippling. If you are operating in the present as though it is 10 years from the day, you're gonna sound like a crazy person. So, the people at Activision would be like, "Can I have this very reasonable thing?" Right? And Bungie would be like, "Are you crazy?"
Was that the most stressful job you've had at Bungie?
Not
I
even
know you loved
close.
it. No, not even close. Oh my god.
That job was like there were moments of stress because I would get in trouble. When I first started, I would get in trouble because I didn't really know what I was, I didn't I just didn't know the details. Like, somebody would be like, can you go get me a salmon?" And I'd be like, "Sure." And then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm taking a salmon from a bear. Got it." I'm not going to the store. I have to take a salmon from a bear.
So
Oh,
just
that's a
very
little harder.
protective. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that was stressful at first, but once I started understood when I understood the landscape and why it was a problem, it became very, very straightforward because I just all you needed to do is, like, somebody freaks out because they don't wanna give you something and you go, "Okay, well, you agree that we need to, like, have a commercial, right?"
So
And Right.
what was the
Very
most
objective.
what was the most stressful time, would you say?
Um, I would say the most stressful was probably working at Treyarch because the, hours were really, really long, and so I would just start to get a little like, I'd need my brain and it wasn't there. That's stressful. You're tired and you're just like, "Well, I don't have my brain." Um,
As in crunch?
yes.
Mm.
And, or like I'd need to be on a phone call at 9 in the morning and I'm still working on a build and it's 4 in the morning and you're like
Oh, God.
you're
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, it was really where that was tough. And
Mm,
I hope that like we don't ever return to that. I am slightly concerned that because of the like pressure that
budgets.
people are feeling. Yeah, there's like a lot of pressure on people now to just take any old job and like put up with whatever old treatment. And I think actually over the last 5 to 7 years, there's been quite a lot of improvement on that space. And
Okay, that's good to hear.
but I do think that there is again another myth that it's like like treating your game dev employees like human beings is part of the reason why they're so expensive, and that's not it. It really isn't. But those were the most stressful times, I think, which was just like I'm so I'm so keyed into making things. I love making particularly love making video games and making music. It's just so I you could just put me in a video game studio and give me a problem, and they would probably just keep working on it until I just died. Unless you brought me a sandwich, just like it's just so enjoyable. But also, when you have a deadline and you need to be physically there and your facilities are giving out, that is like really, really stressful.
I can't even imagine. I can't even
So,
imagine.
there's such a crazy answer. Also, there are times when the stakes are really high. Um, I would say the things that every project I've ever worked on has probably had some moment where I felt like so stressed out that I like it was really problematic, bad for
Really?
my mental, physical health, almost certainly. But
So it's a part of
um,
it,
it's usually
sadly.
about yeah, unfortunately. But the crunch was the most memorable because it's just so like it's so physically grueling. But the most, like, difficult things, I think, are when you feel like you have to sacrifice quality or, make someone who's, like, very powerful happy. That is, like sometimes you will just get into this, like, scrape with someone where they really believe that this thing needs to be a certain way and you maybe can't make it happen, and you're gonna ship something bad because you're trying to make them happy.
Mhm.
Or, like, you're in a position where you're, like, it's more political than it should be. You're like, "Okay, well, I can't make this person mad, so I have to, like, you know, inception them into cutting a feature or, like, play this the right way, get the right people on my side." Like, that kinda stuff is, like I'm just, like, I'm done doing that.
So you went to the Aliens
Firewalk, yeah. Oh, no,
yeah.
I went to so
Oh,
after EA,
yeah. Give me your
I went
timeline.
Yeah, after EA, I left there in 2020, and I
So you had
moved
3
back,
years on that Untitled.
to I left Bungie in 2018, and then
Jeez,
I came back in 2020.
that's a long
Yeah.
time, yeah.
It wasn't that so it was like I was working on that new IP, and then we didn't do it, and then I got another game, and then we didn't do that one. And then I was spending a short period of time working on Need for Speed, but I was like, I didn't Need for Speed is great, but it's just not my like, it's not my dream game to be working
Yeah,
on, I was like so,
at this point in your career, yeah. You wanna be
yeah.
passionate about it, yeah.
Absolutely. I felt like, super fun to work and learn about that franchise, but I just knew that it wasn't the right thing for me long
Yeah,
term,
yeah.
even though I loved being in England. And then, I got the opportunity to come back and work at Firewalk. So, most of the people at Firewalk were my former coworkers at Bungie. I had worked with everyone, almost everyone that was there, and we'd all been to war together. So I was like, "Yes, I will do this."
And you could
And
kinda
then
see that imprint of gameplay in
oh, it's
Concord.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Um, the gameplay team was what we called, I think, mostly was a lot of people who had been on the sandbox team at Bungie. And that was so after I finished working on Destiny 1's marketing campaign, I moved over to being the producer on the sandbox team. And that was my inroad into like, working on Destiny in general. my career went on from there. But that was like my entree, which was to me the most amazing privilege was to get to work with the team that made Destiny feel the way it felt. And watching them
Man,
work was like,
that's crazy.
it was so incredible. And the designers on that team were so next level. I mean, like we talk about how like Kevin is a musical genius. They are video game design, game feel geniuses.
Oh, they
The
are. That
the
first raid,
way
I love that first raid,
well,
man.
and the raid is like a totally different thing. This is
Is
more
it?
like the Sandbox
Jeez.
team was doing things like just, they would figure out what the supers are and then they would pay them off, right? Like that feeling of being a Titan and like, coming in and um
How did you know I
every
mained a Titan?
I mean, because that's where you start.
Uh,
But I mean, that feeling of paying off that power fantasy or the feeling of the exotics and making sure that they like, like the first time you get a headshot with an icebreaker, like, like that
yeah.
is the best thing. And that is done that you don't get that, like that doesn't happen by magic. It is very, very like it takes an extremely well, like communicating team of animators, designers, artists, programmers, like gameplay, like QA people playing the game and being able to articulate things. Like, I just feel like I pulled the trigger and it fired too late by like a millisecond. Like these people could see missing frames in a effect.
I feel like,
Um,
not to go off on a tangent, but
yeah,
Kevin was a QA for Treyarch before
he
he
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
fascinating.
man, that's like, you cut your teeth on QA. But
Did
but
you ever do
working,
QA?
I actually never really did. I mean, yes, in the sense that my first game job
You're always
required me to do a lot of it. Like, um, my first real job of making a game was Ultimate Ride. And we were a very small team and we were making an engine at the same time. So I had to do a lot of the like, it was things like, all right, we got to do a bunch of compatibility testing. So I'd be like in the back room with a screwdriver, putting different video cards in and like reinstalling
oh,
the
that
drivers.
wow.
Yeah. And then
My
being like, oh,
goodness.
multi-texturing doesn't work on the Matrox G400, guys.
Oh my goodness. Shit.
That's like old school QA, right?
Yeah. Shit.
Um, and so the whole like, but the thing about the Sandbox team was that they were so deeply in it in like a very mechanical way. It's like you couldn't really distinguish who was responsible for that gameplay feel exactly because they were just working on it like so simpatico, and it was really inspiring. And the additional challenge of having to make it feel good and know that it was going to always feel good for 10 years, like we're just going to have to keep adding stuff into this sandbox and it's going to have to be fun and feel good. Like it is crazy, the forward thinking that the team had to have. And so the opportunity to go work with them again on a new thing was extremely exciting.
But that's the
um
thing, isn't it? Like for gaming, one of the toughest things is you've got to be forward thinking with the game
yes,
because it takes so long. By the time it comes out, it might not be as
it's
you know what I
it's
mean?
like, yeah, it's even more than that. Like when you and this was so hard to try to explain to people when I was working on Destiny. That was stressful when it came to like Activision would be like, "We need a new planet." And I would be like, "No, a new planet is not a good idea." Like we can't do that. Not
Oh,
that
so
I was in charge
you're
of
that
that.
person saying that.
I
I
wasn't
can't
making the
no,
decisions,
no,
but
but
I was, yeah.
you're communicating. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And trying to
crazy.
explain to them why, right? So like
Yeah.
they would be like, "Why can't we just add a new class?" And I'd be like,
It's
"Well,
that easy.
that's like asking after you've made a cherry pie, like, why it can't also be an apple pie, you know?
Man,
Like,
yeah.
maybe." we could figure something out, but it's not like
Yeah.
and trying to explain like to the Destiny team, like, hey, you aren't fanning out everything that's here. You're like handing people a
Mm.
deck of cards, but all the people are seeing is the ace of spades. And they just think that's all that's there. There's like an entire deck of cards here. You didn't show them and they don't even know. Um, so like there were those two problems, right? But I would say in the case of a game, like, and also a problem is you are talking about a possibility space. You are not talking about a thing like you're used to talking about. When I like, if I'm trying to get you to play Destiny, I'm trying to sell you a hobby. I'm trying to sell you like a thing that's gonna like you're gonna bring
Oh,
yourself
it was
to
a
it.
hobby, all right. It was I
Yeah,
think I did that more than my own job at the time.
I know.
Uh,
But, how do you tell people, like I mean, like, if you're trying to get people into, like, I don't know, disc golf, they, like, understand the concept, but, like, this is a new thing, and,
yeah.
if you show it wrong, I mean, so, yeah, I worked at Firewalk, I left
Yeah.
in 2022, so long before the game got announced or, launched or
And
anything
what
like
was
that, but
the reason behind that?
well, my leaving, my reasons were, like, personal and complicated, but, I think, the things there's, like, a whole people are like, "What happened with Concord?" I wish I could give somebody an answer that was satisfying, but I wasn't there for the last 2 years, but I know everyone there, and the outcomes don't make a lot of sense, honestly, but the most the thing that I like do you know that picture of Beyoncé where she looks like the She-Hulk?
Mm, mm.
Um, to me, it's like if you introduced Beyoncé to the world with that picture, we wouldn't have Beyoncé.
Yeah.
Like, no one got to see the, like, glimmer, like, that's why, like, I point out with Destiny when it came out and it was, like, not received well and people didn't understand it, but so many people had bought it that they gave it the chance that it deserved, and then it evolved with them. And the Loot Cave and the That Wizard Came from the Moon and those sorts of things. That was the beginning of this, like, beautiful relationship between the players and the game, and that never got the chance to blossom because literally people came at it from the worst possible angle. So, like, yeah.
Do you think Concord maybe 10 years ago would have been given more of a chance?
I don't know because I think actually 10 years ago, people would have been even more baffled by the concept because nothing existed like it. There was no live service shooter. And so I think it would have, I remember in like 2013 talking to someone who was very like good at marketing and like selling games. And they had said, the next big thing is probably gonna be free to play multiplayer shooters. And I remember being like, "You're crazy. Like, what does that even look like?" Like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard because at the time, the biggest games were like big like The Last of Us,
Yeah.
right? A
Yeah.
free to play multiplayer game? Are you high? That was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. And then, like, lo and behold, like, Fortnite comes out and then, that was the thing. But, I don't know I don't first of all, I don't think they would have gone in the direction they
No.
went in. Um, there was definitely a mix of, like, trying to read the tea leaves of the market and then,
But I feel like everyone wants their own Fortnite now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
don't you want a money
No,
machine?
well,
Would you? Would
I
you like a
understand, but
money
it's not
machine,
what I'm
Dan?
saying is it's not practical. That's a once in a lifetime type of
Yeah.
thing, you know?
Uh-huh.
That's just not possible. You
No,
can't.
it's a time. The player's time is now the biggest, like, exhaustible resource.
Mm,
Something
yes.
that, so not my theory, my view of what is happening in the game industry right now is that distribution has completely changed. and the old ways are completely gone, and the new ways are not sustainable. So your EAs and your Activisions, they did the legwork of building those pipelines to the consumer, right? They had the distribution, the literal trucks that delivered the discs to the stores. They had the relationships with the buyers in the stores that discussed where and when they would get put on the shelves and when the ads would run in their circulars and when they would show up in Times
Different
Square.
time. It's a different wow.
Totally different way. Nobody
Wow.
engages with content like that anymore. So digital distribution came around, and at the time people were kind of like, cool, now I could download it maybe, but I'd still rather go to my midnight release at GameStop. And so I don't think anybody saw what was coming. Then the mobile market was taking off, and maybe that should have been a hint of where things were going. But I think
Yeah.
people really saw this is where I think that this is actually one place where I do think gamers have some culpability, which is in not seeing games like mobile games or games that people who are not gamers as real games,
Mm.
right? By like
Yeah.
putting up that by like not banding together with the mainstream entertainment world and like othering, um they like kind of lose a little bit of the like consumer power. So if you look at mobile, like I mean, like it's so like it's so hard to stand out. But the game industry, in as we know it, the hardcore game industry or the core gaming industry, as they might have called it, um, the one that plays on console or plays on a souped up PC, they were not hard to reach for a long time. Like there was kind of like this ecosystem that worked, and that is just completely blown apart now by live service, but also by Steam. There's just so many ways in which it doesn't work like it used to, and so nobody really knows. I mean, that was a big part of the IP that I was working on. Was everybody loved the IP idea, but like when we were like, okay, well, how's it going to make money? Everybody was kind of like, I don't know if it's going to make money.
You were at Firewalker now, and then you went,
Then I
um
went to Cold Iron.
yep.
And so I took on a role as a studio head there. So they were transitioning their leadership, and they needed like somebody to run the studio.
Is that hard? Have you ever run a studio? Is that a tough thing to do? I can't
It was
imagine.
tough. I
Yeah.
actually, so when I left Firewalk, I remember thinking I would like to start my own studio now. I have so much experience. I have so much like passion, and I've learned so much, and I would love to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I actually can run a business. I've never done it before. I've run a big project as the executive producer. I manage the P&L of like huge games. I've, written some big checks and made some big decisions, but I've never run a company, and that's a little different.
Mhm.
Like I would say up until Cold Iron, the biggest decision I had ever made was to greenlight the like budget for the like campaign, basically, like to for Forsaken, was to say like we're going to go in this direction. We're going to make it um about spoiler alert, Cade dying. And like we're going to go in that direction, and we're going to plot that out. And then it wasn't until like after it was greenlit that we ran into some problems with casting and the narrative. So it's like really, really dicey and scary. But it wasn't the same as like I made a decision and now everyone's gonna lose their jobs.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was like a different level of
So were you nervous
accountability.
going into that job?
Um, yes, I was, because I believed that I could do it, but I wasn't 100% sure. And I really wanted to learn. I wanted to like do my absolute best, and I had support. It wasn't like I was just completely on my own. Um, but it was a really, I mean, it was a studio going through a transition, so they were in a pretty big like it was a tough situation. Like people were really worried. People were not, they were shocked. So it wasn't like I came in and it was, you know, normally you start a new job and everyone's like, they had interviewed you, they hired you, they're excited that you've started, they onboard you. This was like, who is this lady? Why is this happening? Like, what's happening to us, you know? And I had
Right.
no context. So, actually, I'm really proud of the work that I did in that year to help transition them to where they're, you know, where they got to. It was it was really hard, but it was really rewarding, and it was really I met a lot of people that made lifelong, you know, connections and friendships. Um, One of the things too that I think that people don't have a lot of perspective on is what the pandemic did to game development.
Yeah, I was talking to
Um,
Glenn Schofield about this.
yeah, it's like,
Callisto, yeah.
uh, I would say that's like the biggest specter of it. Like, I don't want it to be like, it's not like the pandemic made it all bad. It certainly wasn't a good time, but actually, the pandemic pushed us, like when you're working from home, it pushed you to find and solve problems that you normally wouldn't solve. So there's ways in which it like supercharged things.
Yes.
But then there's in all the ways it's supercharged, in some directions, it like was a major negative in others. And um now people have adjusted a bit and they've sort of discovered who they are. Are you a work from home kind of person or are you I gotta be in the office kind of person? Like people know who they are now. But at the time, nobody knew. Everybody was just like, and I also think that people were um you know, people were suffering. It was really scary. People were getting sick, people were losing people were scared. And so it felt pretty bad to be like, okay, I know that you have COVID right now, but we have a deadline. Like,
No, yeah. It's 100% true.
like,
Yeah. So
trying to like
true.
do some of the things that like, you know, game development is always really hard. And like the things that I was working on, they were like, I would say, especially at Firewalk, like we were building a studio, building a new IP, building like a new game engine, building a team, building a process, like everything was getting done
Oh,
and
God.
also
Sounds
navigating a
it honestly
pandemic.
sounds like a nightmare. Don't know,
Um,
really,
I
in
would
some
say
sense, seriously.
in a way, because like there were times I
Oh,
was just like, this is literally like this is like trying to like you know,
climb Mount
stuff
Everest
like
without
that.
any help.
Yeah, exactly. But there were also ways in which it was
Uh,
like really, really inspiring because people showed up for each other. It's just like so like I would say in terms of like I can't really talk too much to where like what happened with Concord because I was not there for the last 2 years. Um, but I can speak to the like amazing team that was there and the fact that they shipped it at all is like a miracle. But also the like tragedy that people never got to know what they were trying like it never got the chance to be seen as it should be. That to me is the most tragic. Like
mm.
um it just it didn't land well, 100% true, but like it did just like I said, I like feel like that Beyoncé thing
I
is the best way I can
Yeah.
explain it.
I feel like but, what I love about you, just speaking to you today, is that you find the positives in all your experiences, and that's what I try to do as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that there is I mean, there's a lot of pain and like, you know, a grief and things that didn't go the way that they could have. I certainly like have a lot. I'm super sad that the game that I went to work at EA on didn't see the light of day because
well, I'm sad too.
I was fully in
Trust
love
me,
with it.
yeah.
And I was even more devastated when the next game got canceled because that one was even better. Like it was so good, but it wasn't practical, right? But I, you know, like there's real grief over not like that, not seeing the light of day.
Do
And
you think it would have done well
um,
in
oh,
hindsight?
absolutely, 100%. I
Ah,
mean, I think
man.
it would have been hard. It would have been difficult, and I mean, I think it would have gone well, but everything would have had to go right. And like I'm using the perspective that I had of working on games like Guitar Hero or BioShock Infinite, where at some point, you just grit your teeth and you make something great with what you've got. Like, you just do it. No crying about it. Just do it.
I love how your voice changes. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Uh,
I believe that like with my experience leading teams to do that, that we would have done that.
yeah,
But I also recognize that like they didn't know me and they didn't know if that was actually, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's not just gonna be me that like I might, rally people, but like they gotta be able to be there.
yeah. Was so I know we're running out of time now, but so now what are you doing now? What are you're working on another game?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I took this year knowing that like where the industry is where it is and the experiences that I've had and recognizing that what I do best is making things. Like that is what I do. I tried to do a lot of like I learned a lot about operations and I learned a lot about running businesses and I still like, and deploying what I've learned, but I want to focus it in a more um direct way. I don't think I need to keep uh building teams of hundreds of people.
yeah.
Um, that's something I can do, but it's not something I realize I like doing. Um, so I decided that I wanted to take this year to get my skills up. Um, First of all, to be able to make music without needing to have somebody call me and ask me if they want me to sing a song or have to work with like a producer to figure out how to make my own music. I wanted to get my skills up to do that. So I built a studio in my house, built a record label,
Nice,
and
nice.
I made this covers record, which is my way of like getting to the place where I want the songs to be without having to write them too, because like at least I know the songs are good.
So when's it out?
So the whole album will be out next year, but I'm gonna release a song every like 4 to 6 weeks.
Because
I've
that's kind of
got
the new model, isn't it, on
it's
streaming
like
now?
it
Yeah.
was the new model, and now people are like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "Listen, I already made my plan to do that, so you're stuck with it."
Oh, so it's not the model now.
I don't know. I don't think it's like I said, distribution's broken and
It's
nobody
always yeah, no one. It's as long
and
as it's good, that's the main thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can't make a plan,
No,
in a world that's changing this fast. So
so
that one
true.
seemed as good as any. And like,
Mhm.
I thought it would be good for me to keep an ongoing communication going and try to grow the audience a little bit and get people
Yeah.
used to who I am as a musician. So the first, the first single is coming out on December 6th. And then
Do we
just
know
look at
what
my
that is, or
calendar
you
right now.
can't say?
Yes, it is. It's a cover of the song "Anyone Who Knows What Love Is Will Understand."
Nice.
Which do you know the song? It was on Black
Yes.
Mirror. Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason I did it, it's not like a traditional version of the song. I always had this idea that those songs from the 60s are like completely psychotic. I don't know if you like there's another one that's really famous or not, but was To Know Him Is to Love Him, which was written by Phil
Yep.
Spector.
Mhm.
And like knowing every time I hear that song, I just imagine like there's somebody off like on the side of the person who's singing it and he's like holding a gun at them, right? Like
Ah!
it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
the idea, like anyone who knows what love is will understand, like this idea that you would do anything for love to a crazy degree was what inspired me to like like let my multiple personalities out. So
That's a song that no one else but you would do. I feel like you know what I mean? It's so you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
fair.
It
Yeah, it's
really is.
funny actually. I played it for a couple of people to get feedback and they're like, I don't really know this song, but it's very you. And I'm like, is that a compliment? Like, it's pretty crazy. It's like pretty villainous, but
Uh,
I love how it's like kind of that it's creepy, but it's like also like it's got a big grin on its face. And that was like When I
Yes.
did the zombie songs in Edmonton, I was like, I'm gonna give the people what they want. I'm gonna be a completely psychotic zombie queen. Like I was trying to channel Bruce Dickinson. If you've ever seen Iron Maiden live, like
I wish.
he's
I
so
wish.
like just he's like basically playing this it's almost like musical theater. He's so over the top with it and it's so great.
Yeah.
Um, and so like just to really lean into it is fun. So that's what I did. I'm excited for it to come out. I like my expectations are low.
Low?
Yeah, I mean, I just like I
Ah,
really just want to get people to hear it. And like I really don't have a big dream beyond getting the songs out
yeah.
so that people have more stuff from me. So there that one is coming out on the December 6th. And then at the beginning of next year, I have an Iron Maiden cover that is gonna come out. So
So hold on, are you working on a game at the moment as well, or
I
next
am.
year? Oh, you are?
So I just co-founded a studio with some former coworkers of mine from Irrational. We're called Mad Tail. Just
Nice.
agreed. Like we've been talking about it all year, but we just like finally were like they've been like working on Mad Tail in the background. So we all got together and we're like, let's make it real.
How
And I want to
many
start.
of you is it?
Right now it's just three of us. So
Yeah.
it's me and Mike Knight, who is like the lead world builder, and Andreas Gonzalez, who was the lead designer. We all worked together on the DLC for Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, what that was a pretty average DLC. Wasn't
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, we did Burial at Sea together, so,
Uh, yeah,
that was our
just a throwaway DLC, guys, nothing.
that was
Yeah.
honestly, of all of the things that weren't stressful,
Uh,
Burial at Sea episode 2 is probably the pinnacle of my favorite game development experience. I would say that one and Guitar Hero 2
wow.
were the most joyful experiences I got to work on.
Ken's a crazy genius, isn't he?
Ken is a crazy genius. He is so brilliant, and he actually, he's like there's enough stories about him being difficult to work with that, but I personally learned so much from him. Um, that I think, a genius is never like I don't think it's easy to be a genius either. It's like not easy to work with genius. Um, it's not easy to compromise your vision because of dumb reality. And,
Yeah,
most of these things are you get one shot, right? Like you
yeah.
do it wrong and it's like it's gonna I think that's another thing that people don't understand when they're like when something flops, for example, what they don't see is that it's a haymaker that missed. Like when you're watching a boxing match, if that punch had landed, it would have been dazzling, but it didn't. And so it looked really stupid.
Yep, and it's brave. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
brave.
is brave. It's very brave.
Very brave.
And the world needs people who will take those swings.
And it sounds like so you're gonna take another swing.
You know
You're gonna
what?
keep taking
I'm
swings.
down but not out. No, I'm not down but out. But I'm like, I am gonna keep trying because
No,
that's like,
you
what I was put on earth to do.
yeah, I truly believe it. I've had such a pleasure over the last 2 hours, Elaine. Thanks for taking some
Oh,
time.
your questions are awesome. I mean, I love to answer
Honestly,
I love to answer and talk about
I
stuff.
feel like I haven't asked you anything I wanted to ask you. It's just
Well, we
gone
can do
off.
another one
We Can we
someday.
do another one eventually, please?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like we just haven't even scratched the surface.
Scratch the surface. Well, I mean, yeah, I have like a
Ah,
20 plus year career, so there's a lot to go.
we could probably do a whole series of these and still not get every story.
That's possible.
No. Is there anything you wanna say to the zombie fans in particular
Um,
over the years? And because
I
yeah,
I mean, I am constantly being surprised by this community. It's been over a decade and I'm still just getting like my socks knocked off by people who are like reaching out to me and telling me like expressing themselves to me in a way that just like levels me every time. It's so overwhelming. I just like I saw so Maluka and I are friends and she had posted a video because she posted a cover and she was so moved by like all the support that she got. And I was like, that's how I feel. I'm just not brave enough It's really overwhelming in a like, an incredible way. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't get the support from that community, because that's, like there were so many times along the way where, like, I never would've made The Mighty. I never would've made this cover album. I never would've, like, put up with a bunch of the stuff that I was struggling with in my career in games because I had evidence that people liked what I was doing.
Mm.
That was like when people are telling you, like, "Your idea is crazy, it doesn't make sense," or, like, "We don't believe in you," I'd be like, "Well,
Look at this. Yeah,
have
yeah,
you"
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, that
true.
is, like that is so meaningful. The fact that people would
Mm.
take time out of their, like, day to, tell me that something mattered to them, it doesn't seem like a lot probably to people in the community, but to me, it has been so overwhelmingly positive, and to show, like, that, it's not fleeting. Like,
Yeah.
I wake up every day and I'm like, "Today's the day that everybody stops engaging."
No. No, I
Permanent.
those songs will just they're just gonna keep
They're very meaningful to
they're just
people.
gonna be keep getting listened to and
Yeah,
find new audiences forever,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
literally. I mean
They're really, really good. And I do wanna make more songs and try to, like, add to that body of work, right? And I have some things that I wanna learn. I wanna know what are the like, I don't completely understand, like, when people are like, "Oh, well, we like these other songs, but we want you to come back and sing more of them." I'm like, "What what is it why?" And I really wanna, like, put some stuff out there and get real feedback from people and, just see what people like and what they don't. So the covers record is gonna be all over the map. Like, the anyone who knows what Love Is will understand is like a kinda like a dark, gothy synth rock song. But the Iron Maiden cover is a totally different genre, like, everything is different. I'm sure there's gonna be some things where people are like, not to the extent of The Mighty, but definitely gonna push it. So, I
Yeah.
guess bear with me, but also please tell me what you think, but, like, with use nice words. You don't have to attack me personally. You can just
Uh,
say you didn't like something. Yeah, and I'll hear that.
Now, obviously, everyone is gonna ask me you already know what I'm gonna say probably, the question, so I'll answer it for you. We don't wanna spoil if you're in Black Ops 6, guys. Why would Elena even tell me that? Because
Wouldn't you not like to know?
I wanna play it and feel that joy when I hear your voice. That's you know,
I
that's
know
what I
everyone
want.
wants to ask the question, but yeah, that's how that works is that.
The, let's just say you're not opposed to going back, right?
No,
No.
I love the mode. I
Mhm.
love the fans. I love the people that make the game. Like, I'm not opposed to it, not at all.
Would you do it till Black Ops 12?
I would literally you, like, will be able to wake me up from my grave. I will become a zombie and sing songs. Will always as long as there's somebody this is like I mean, the other thing too is I am a big like, my favorite thing to do when I'm not doing anything else is karaoke. I will literally sing the same song
Ah, I
over and over
wish I
again.
could go to karaoke with you.
It's the most fun thing it's the most fun any human being can have, right? Like, you can sing the same
Uh,
song 4 times in a row if you want. It's
yeah,
amazing.
but you've got an advantage, you're a singer.
I know, and it's actually a
You're
disadvantage because
cheating.
it annoys people. So, like,
Yeah.
I just wanna have fun like everyone else has fun at
I
karaoke,
know.
which is, like, singing the songs I love, but everybody else gets mad at me or, like, I'll do a song and then everybody's like, "Oh, like, great, now it's my turn." And I'll be like, I wanna hear your
Ah,
version,
yeah,
of
yeah.
Someone Like You by Adele, please. I would like to hear it, and I'm gonna cry when you sing it just like if it was Adele. I love it. And it's
Ah,
like, I'm sorry that I sound pretty when I sing it.
that's so funny.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
absolute last one,
Okay.
because I know everyone's gonna ask me, what's your favorite of the do you have a favorite?
It changes. Um, but right now, my favorite is Dead Again.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my like, usually my top one if people ask me because I just love that song is so cool and, beautiful. The bridge is like Kevin's bridges are next level.
For me, yeah, it's hard to pass 115 because of the nostalgia for me.
Yeah,
We're around
yeah,
that as
that's fair.
well.
That's what most
But
people say.
Beauty of Annihilation, I would say, has to be up there for me as well. And
I
the
would say
one,
when I
the
yeah,
one,
when
yeah.
I interesting. So when I talk to people, they usually say 115 or they say Beauty. The one is up there sometimes. Pareidolia is high on people's lists.
I've never heard anything like that song ever,
It's pretty wild, isn't
and
it?
I
It's
love
pretty
it for
different
it. No,
song.
I love it,
Yeah.
yeah.
It reminds me a little bit it sounds to me like a song that should be in Silent Hill. It has a Silent Hill
Yeah,
vibe to it. Um,
it does. That is so true.
and it has like I don't know how to describe it, but it
It's
definitely
so
feels like
true.
a horror game song,
Mm,
and I do really love it for that. They're all so
they're
good.
all good.
And
They're
as
all
a
good.
singer, like, whenever, like, Kevin would be like, "I have a song that you like for you to sing," I like there is nothing like Christmas morning could not even come close to what that feels like. It's the best feeling because it's just like,
Uh,
yeah. And I will also say, like, performing those songs with a choir, it was about as close to like, just like pure heaven as a
ah,
singer. Like, I was wearing my this crazy diva dress. Like, it was just a great experience. It was like my 8-year-old self cannot believe this is happening.
are you gonna do more of those, or is it a
I would
one-off?
love to. I would love to. I think it's like pretty hard to put up together. A lot of
Yeah.
work. Um, and so anytime anybody asks me if I can make it happen, I'm gonna say yes. Because obviously I was really tentative at first. The first time we did it, I remember I was like, I can't. I literally can't. And I remember Kevin called me and he was like, you can and you will.
You can't as in why couldn't you?
Um, I think it was just, I mean, honestly, very afraid of letting people down or not being, able to do it to the, um, like I just didn't want to show up and sound bad.
I'm just shocked how you don't have the confidence still after all these years. I am just shocked.
Yeah, welcome
And
to
all
everyone I know.
ah, you know,
Everyone's like, "Elena." And I mean, it's not that I think I am gonna sound bad, it's that I just know I don't wanna risk it. It could happen, so, my default is, like, prepare for the worst.
it's that perfectionist coming
It's
out.
a perfectionism big
Mm.
time. I have a persona that my husband calls backstage Elena. She's, like, really stressed out and, she's like, forgets everything, and, like, I regularly lost my voice before performing, and
Ah,
that's just
okay.
'cause my body is like,
And it's
and then I have to, like, push through, um, and, but on stage Elena is totally different, right? So I'm actually trying this thing where I'm trying to be more on stage than off, not in a metaphorical way. I'm trying to
oh,
let
yeah, yeah,
go
yeah. No,
of the
that's a good idea.
anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
And
working?
it is, it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, that's good.
and honestly and that's, like I mean, the encouragement that I've gotten from people is a huge part of it, and, and not to be a bummer, like, there's so much toxicity in this community in some arenas that, like, I don't think it's crazy for me to be a little anxious
No,
about
it's
it.
not. No, it's not. Not at all.
It could go
No.
sideways at any time, right? And so, like and I know like, that could always happen and that it's something that people have been through and have survived, so, but the encouragement from the community is, like, probably the one thing that's helped me to push through.
I wanna say thank you for all the work you've done over the years, you know, just whether it's Destiny or Quantum of Solace, You know,
Yeah, it was a really great
man,
game.
that was a cool game. That was like the first
Yeah,
game I played on PS3.
it was a great team. It was such a
Yeah.
great team. Yeah,
And I can't
fun,
imagine
fun
working
project.
on an IP like that and the constraints and who know all that shit that you have to deal with.
Yeah,
But
like I tell a couple
yeah,
stories.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, no, just thank you for everything. And we can follow your Instagram anywhere else.
Yes, absolutely. That's here. I am probably the easiest, the most active on Instagram. I do actually, there's a lot of people on Facebook. I've been trying to like engage with people a little bit more on Facebook. I'm on TikTok now. It's
Oh,
confusing enough.
nice.
And YouTube. Actually, YouTube and Instagram are probably the best to follow me at because I'm the most engaged there and I understand how to use them.
Yeah.
TikTok is
I'll,
like a lot to
well,
learn.
if you need any help, I can help you with TikTok. But yeah, even I struggle with it.
What
Um,
is happening?
everything moves quick.
It
Thank
does.
you very much for your time. This has gone way over the length, but
Thank you for
I've loved every
indulging me
second.
and letting me give you my long-winded answers. It's great meeting you. I'm so
Great meeting you.
grateful that you asked me. You've had so
Thank
many
you.
great guests, so I'm like humbled.
Thank you.